Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
Oh, you guys, I wish we could do pre-podcast and you could pay extra money, because sometimes the podcast that happens before the podcast.
That's what we should do. We should do it for behind the scenes.
The juiciest information.
It's very juicy. Yeah, we could. I'll bleep the names.
I know.
That's a good idea.
Sometimes I'm like, if you email us, I'll let you know. But then after a while, I'm like, I stopped doing that because it's dangerous territory.
It really is. And
just maybe sometimes with innocuous. The fun thing is we had a comic from LA, so I just got like a breath of fresh, insight of like what's going on out there.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love a little whispers from the West Coast.
I enjoy it. There was a lot of West Coast comics this week in New York.
Really? Yeah, I think I've heard of a few people coming this time, which I guess it doesn't make sense because it's like, this is when they're doing the JFL audition. So it's like there's half of the stage time.
Yeah.
They're doing the callbacks this week.
Oh.
Yeah, because I heard a few people were like, oh, I'm coming. And then like everybody's doing the callbacks. It's like, oh, this is an awkward time to be like, I'm here. Hello.
I know. It's so funny too with JFL. I know this is something that you guys are you don't really care. Most of America doesn't even know what JFL, and it's for comics. It's like it's called Just for Laughs Festival, and it's such a big deal. It's not.
It's the difference of going from not doing JFL to doing JFL. You're recognized as a professional comedian publicly.
So it's like
going
a
from being like,
debutante.
I do comedy to like, I am a stand-up comedian.
Yes. And
we both have done it.
We both have done it. And then what ends up happening is like 4 years go by and people forget that you've done it. And then they've asked if you want a recommendation.
That's so funny. I love
that. No
that.
one remembers that you went.
I would be like, oh, do you want me to recommend you?
Yeah.
Because you also went 5 years ago?
Yeah. All right. Sometimes I got asked to recommend, and I wanted to recommend people that have already gone that I feel like are great and didn't get a fair shake. First time. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Like,
yeah. Well, it used to be the thing in the industry, which is what everyone says. Like, it used to be a thing where you would go in like 91 and you would go and you would, as a comedian, you would be introduced to the industry and then you would sign a deal for a sitcom like right then and there. And that's when they were just throwing sitcoms at comedians before they were like, we should pick people that know how to write.
Yes. And then they had a horrific one where some guy committed or didn't get anything. Or he got a deal. Mm-hmm. Nothing came from it. Tossed aside like showbiz does because they don't care. And why should it? It's like a business. But that guy ended up like killing himself.
I never knew that.
His name is Chicken.
Was Mitch Hedberg. No. That's what happened with Mitch.
Oh, no. No. So, but then I guess like industry trends change. I mean, things changed all the time. Like
they are always changing. Yeah. That's why people are always complaining like, oh, like things were better in the 80s. Really?
Yeah.
During the AIDS crisis?
Yes. When it's only like 4 guys got accepted.
Yeah.
And then the rest of everybody was trying. Where now it's just like kind of nice that you can take a lot of things into your own hands.
Which
is nice,
and I think
so
that's
tiring.
great. Well, it's like you're being worked to death to do like TikToks.
Yes.
But I love comics. Like comics do this, and I think a lot of people in the entertainment industry, they like to complain about TikTok because they feel resistance to it because they don't want to necessarily make themselves, they don't want to learn the new platform, for whatever reason. But it reminds me of that classic old movie. It's an old movie. It's called Sunset Boulevard.
Okay.
It's a film noir about this guy. It's like the 50s in Hollywood or the 40s. He meets this older woman. She's a has-been silent film actress, and she's going on about how like the talkies are new and stupid and they're not gonna last. And it's like that's what everybody's doing with TikTok, where she's like, well, back in my era, we didn't need words. You
acted with your facial expression, and that's all gone. Yeah, and you're like, well. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, that's what I think about when people complain about TikTok. I'm like, you're a dinosaur and you're not going to make it.
You're about to die.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm on there doing mediocre stuff. Ooh, I'm in bed with my boyfriend. I said a quip.
I know. I took a break this last week. I'm going to try to get back on. It's work. I kind of miss the days where I'm like, can I just get discovered? It's like, just fucking discover me, dudes.
Yeah.
So now we have to do everything on our own, and it's like tiring.
But this is one fun thing that we love to do on our own. And this
Yes.
brings me to my journey because,
Yes.
as you know, I released my album. Thank you so much to the Patreon Voyagers
Yes.
who listened to it. I got great feedback on it. And so I released the album. I've been promoting the album like crazy. I've done 20 podcasts. I'm doing like 3 more this week.
It's a lot of talking.
It is so, I mean, and it's a lot of talking about nothing where you go on. And some of these podcasts, like some I've been so lucky to do some good ones. Some I have just done strangers podcasts where I am keeping the show afloat by the hair, by like a little, like, a thread, and I'm just like talking, and I'm talking so much, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying, and there's a silence, and I'm just like, one time I was in a car accident,
or just like delve dark secrets of my life to keep the show going. Yeah. You're like, I one time murdered somebody. Yeah,
I killed a man with my car. I never told anyone. Like, oh my god, I just implicated myself, or like I brought up like a friend from high school, and then like that person, I'm like, I hope they never hear it.
Being on a podcast, I think, is a wild ride, and I'm surprised we are not getting canceled all the time. I mean, because the more you talk, the worse it gets.
Things just come out.
I know. There are so many, and even I've had job interviews, or like when you, whatever it's called, a general, when you meet, like just go to a network and they're just wanting to take a meeting so they can feel great, but it doesn't lead to shit. And all of a sudden you're just talking about something that you're like, this is wildly inappropriate that I just brought this up.
Yeah. I'm like, one time I got chlamydia. You're like, wait, oh my God. They're like, so do you have any ideas for scripts?
Yeah, you're like, no. Didn't think of anything. Yes.
I've had that. I had an interview once where I was joking about not being able to hold down a job. Yeah. It's like, well, I wonder why I didn't book it. I'm like, yeah, I can't. I'm drunk. Like, what am I saying? I'm just like trying to be funny.
I know. Oh my God. Like there was one, I was in a sketch group called Bullshit Woman. We did a show at UCB. Ryan Seacrest production company, a representative, was happening to be there. It was kind of like La La Land without the success.
Yeah.
Because remember, she just did one show and it just happened to be like,
it was a Miss Maisel.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, she didn't have to do 10 years of dog walking. That's
yeah.
like so frustrating. We went to the meeting, and then Bullshit Woman was like an irreverent show about like female tropes and just like funny humor in that world. And we had a thing of like, but in between sketches we showed, we found like weird vaginas on Google Images, and we'd slowly like blur, and you had to unblur, and you had to figure out which vagina belonged to which one. And I don't know why, but we brought this up in the meeting, and then we always laugh to this day of like she's like, okay, and then we thought it went well, like it was funny, and then as we look back in retrospect, we were always like, we probably shouldn't have showed that interstitial, right? Like this was supposed to go on like E.
Oh my God.
Embarrassing. Yeah.
That's so fun. It's a fine line between genius and madness.
Or just highly inappropriate in a business meeting. You're like, it works on stage when everybody signs up for it, but in a meeting context and you're the only woman in the room that's the representative for this company, it feels kind of like we just horrifically sexually harassed you. Oh well.
Oh man, sorry. On to the next one. I know there's so many moments like that in where you're like, oh, my audition, like, I was almost there, or like my audition was great even, but then you just don't get it. And that's why I'm trying to focus more on tiny milestones.
Okay, so what do you consider milestones?
A tiny milestone can be anything. It can be anything like, I have been trying to do more presence in my social media. I just hit 7,500 Instagram followers. Okay. So I'm like, okay, that's a tiny milestone. I can celebrate that. Celebrating it more as like, hey, you know what? I'm getting closer to achieving my goal of having a bigger reach, instead of getting caught in this mindset of, which I feel like this was social media a lot, where it's like a total rat race. Yeah. Where it's like, get more followers, get more followers, get more followers. Instead, it's like, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Or like,
it's working.
Yeah. I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward in a little maybe like consistent small baby steps, or like doing like the 20 podcasts of my album. Like I did 20 podcasts. I promoted it enough.
Yeah, having those like weekly goals or like making sure so you can hit those tiny milestones. There was a comic in the community, Emily Winter, didn't she have that book, or she had a book of like, my goal is to do 100 rejections?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. She's somebody who I think she takes this to a really fun level, where I know that she was doing like a chart for herself, where it's like when you do one thing on the chart, you get a star, you know? So like kind of celebrating a small celebration of doing something that you enjoy doing, like putting a sticker on a chart. Yes. So it's not like, I'm not like, okay, I did 20 podcasts, time to go like get hammered for a weekend.
Yes. You know? I'll usually try to treat myself to like a notebook or some like nice stationery or something that pertains into the world of what I'm doing, or even like go get those pair of shoes that you had an eye on for a while as like a treat to yourself for hitting that milestone, because goals are hard, and if you do it, I say when you hit a tiny milestone and you get it, like, just reward yourself.
Just reward yourself and be in the mindset of rewarding yourself more. Yeah. Because I get into the mindset of like, well, you know, I was so excited for my album to come out, and it did come out. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I was delusional, thinking like, this is it. Yeah, I'm about to be famous, and I'm probably going to, you know, I'm like, did Netflix? I don't want to miss the call from Netflix.
I had the one of like, maybe I might be nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, like, am I the next Louis C.K.? Like, it's hard, and I knew I had that feeling with the album. It's a very like 30th birthday feeling, where you're like, you've set a big party and you've planned a show, and you know that it's not going to be the best night of your life, and you know that like it's going to be a huge letdown because it's not going to be like the most amazing thing that ever happened to you.
Oh yeah, I've just now, anything in life is this will never turn out to anything, and just to enjoy that you did it.
Yes, that's the plus side of pessimism, you know.
I know people are like, it's not great to work in that, but I'm like, it really works for me, and it helps me keep me sane without keep
the bar low.
Keep it low expectations, because you don't know. It's kind of like you work so hard to put a viral video out, and that one only gets like 1,000 views, and then the one dumb thing that you put out like with no thought is the one that gets 1 million. So there's no rhyme and reasoning.
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
So why like tear yourself down if something didn't work out? That you should really just be happy that you did it.
That you put out the video. That's the milestone.
Yeah.
Just doing the album, doing the podcast, rewarding yourself for those things you're doing. Because I also have a thing too, and I was learning a little bit about this with like Atomic Habits. It was talking about like not having like a goal necessarily, because sometimes a goal has different elements to it. You know, if I have a goal of like having a Netflix special, it's like, that's not on me that I can actually get a Netflix special.
In a weird way, you can't control that, but the thing that you can control is you can do all the steps to like get there. And what will end up happening is if you don't get the Netflix, something else will happen, and it could be better.
Yes. So focusing on the things that you can control, and then making the small reward and the small celebration, even just like patting yourself on the back. I literally think that that's all that it is, because I just get in such a mindset of like flogging myself. I think it's like a New York pre-pandemic mindset where it's like, nothing will ever be good enough. I'm nobody. I'm a worm. You know, it's also like a woman mindset too. Like, I have to work my way out of this hole. Yeah. Coming from a deficit always.
Yeah. And then you've just noticed that like absolute dog shit rises to the top as well. So like it's pointless.
There's nothing to do with talent.
No, but that's why like celebrating the tiny milestones or just doing something like somebody. I mean, I am just impressed with our peers, like when they write a book. Yeah. That I was like, that is amazing. You did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a New York Times bestseller. Like, that's fucking amazing that you put thoughts together and like put it out there.
Yeah, that you did an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a piece of work that you worked on.
We did a tiny milestone last night. I just love I also love like celebrations that are every day, you know?
Yes.
Mike and I had a pizza party we ordered a pizza. We're like, we haven't ordered a pizza since the pandemic.
That's hilarious.
Pizza party, you know?
Oh my
Pizza
God.
party. Just celebrating. We have like this joke around the house that like, I get a sticker, you get a sticker. We never got the stickers, but we're like, once we get enough stickers, we can have a pizza party.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. That's just like our joke of like, clean up your stuff.
Yeah.
Like a way to like nicely be like, you're bothering me. You're not going to get a sticker right now.
Oh, those jokes are always fun in the
Those
relationship.
are fun.
Yeah.
Well, it keeps it light. But yeah, like having the pizza party, and I think too, like I just get in such a psychotic mindset where it's like, just have the pizza party, have a salad, treat yourself. And I love this like trend too on TikTok where it's like, I'm a woman and I spoil myself and I won't be talked
Any
out
other
of
way,
it.
yeah.
I'm like, why can't I be loving to myself in that way where it's like, I deserve a juice, I deserve a juice. Instead of, I'm like, I'm going to make it from scratch at home and I'm going to save 8 cents.
Yes.
Like, no, just treat yourself and love yourself. That's the
why
message.
go through all that ordeal and just get that thing that you want? That's actually a small treat. Like, when we were getting yelled at by boomers for getting coffee every day where you're like, hey, fuck you. This is what I want.
I need this.
Yeah.
I got out of bed today and this is my treat.
You're like, even if I don't get coffee every day, I still cannot afford a down payment on a home because every corporation has just bought them up and has rose the prices up for everybody.
I know. The boomers want to trick us.
We're getting
Y'all are getting
gaslighted.
coffee every day.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're
well,
like, that's not the problem.
yeah, you have a 401k. So
You loser.
I love it though. I love spoiling myself. And I've been on a longer journey of developing my own self-compassion. And during the downtime during the pandemic, I was like kind of doing it more where it's like you listen to the way you talk to yourself and you realize like, oh, I'm really mean to myself sometimes.
Oh, the worst.
Now I love myself though. I'm so cute. I'm so cute and so fun. And put me in your book club. Okay. I won't do the reading. I'll read the first chapter.
Absolutely not. Yeah. But I'll come and hang.
I'll be there
some
for the
sandwiches.
snacks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my journey. Tiny milestones. And I'm encouraging all the journeyers out there. Just pick a little something for yourself and celebrate it. It feels so good.
I love the tiny milestone. I'm into the maybe not happy hour Friday, but like a pizza party.
Pizza party. I love pizza.
Go hang out with some friends.
Get a new pair of shoes.
Yes.
Deserve it. Order from Sephora.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a financial thing too. You could also well, I'm drawing a blank on that one. I guess you could masturbate. That's kind of nice. Yeah.
A bath.
Oh, a bath. Very cheap.
Yeah.
Very cheap.
Tea. Some tea in your apartment and or maybe indulging in like a few hours of TV.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Yes. I want to get more into like these budget luxury things of like, having a cup of tea, having a bath, like doing these like little things that make your life feel good, but it doesn't cost so much money. Especially as I'm having a light month. I had like 2 great months where I was like, I think I'm rich. And now I'm having this month where I'm like, oh, this is like a kind of a hole in my calendar. I didn't book that much. But sometimes you have to leave space. Like, what if I had something that came up? Like, should I drive to Philly to make $25? Or should I just wait,
Yeah.
So especially with like the economy now, you go to the grocery store and you're like, coconut water is like $9. And you're like, didn't this used to be $5? I swear this was $5 a week ago.
No, we ate at a diner last night in our neighborhood. I got a Greek salad and then chicken orzo soup. It was $35. That's
nuts.
Was like, in my day, that was a ribeye. That was a surf and turf meal.
Yes, that was a full 2 types of animals.
Land and sea.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you don't want to sound like old, like back in my day.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude,
yeah,
that is ridiculous.
Stuff is so expensive right now. I picked my laundry up today, and granted, it was like a big chunk of laundry, but it was $27. Yeah, I'm like, I could buy new clothes. Mike was like, "What? You're gonna buy one shirt?" Yeah, I'm like, okay, but still,
yeah.
But I know I'm trying not to be the type of person that complains about how expensive everything is, because it's like nobody likes that person. Where I'm like at the store, I'm like $9 for wine.
Whoa, yeah.
But I'm also like, wow, things have gotten crazy.
Out of control, especially just like eating out is insanity. And then my
Eating
friend
out's
had brought
nuts.
up a really good point. She said, yeah, and doesn't it always seem like restaurant owners are like, I'm not making any money. Then you're
Yeah.
like, but if a salad and soup is $35, like what's happening?
Yeah, how are you not making any money? You're charging a huge amount, but I guess like they're having a hard time getting people in there. I don't know.
The only thing I could think of is just like New York rent, and especially commercial real
The
estate
rent,
is probably
yeah.
just like out of control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, it's tough
But
times.
getting
but, like,
through it-
celebrate those tiny milestones with
Yes.
like cheap. Do a bath.
Do a bath.
A nap. I
A
love
nap.
it. An 8-hour nap is a great way to like
just
save
a full
money.
day in bed. Just a full day in bed. Yeah. If you're hungry, just go to sleep. That's what I always did. I started listening to this podcast, which I think was pretty good. It was called The Financial Feminist, her first 100K. And it's a little remedial for me because it's like for somebody who has like no like finance background. But if you're into it, do check it out. It's all about like financial feminism and educating women on finances. So that's a good one for like a little watch list. I started listening to it. I'm like, first of all, the girl's like 25, which you know that's fine. But I'm like, I can't. I think I know all about finances.
Yeah.
But I do.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no.
I almost
Oh my God.
interrupted
No,
you.
you.
Oh,
wait.
well, I was gonna say that just kind of is slightly heading into the journey.
The finance journey. Yeah. Your
finance journey.
finance journey. And I do want to say, I am still working on part 2 of the crypto journey.
Yes.
Biden said he's going to regulate cryptocurrency. So that kind of like changes a lot of the stuff that I was reading about because it's hither so far been like totally unregulated.
Well, wasn't there a huge security breach in a blockchain recently? They said it was one of the biggest.
Oh, was it? I don't know that I heard that.
I don't know the exact details, but we were talking about that with the crypto journey of like it's not regulated. So it's like, how do you know that you're putting your money in something that's actually legit or like just giving it to some rando
Yeah.
Russian?
Yeah, you're just like giving it to a woman who's like gone mysteriously.
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
missing crypto queen.
But there was, I guess, the blockchain got hacked into and the money was
Wow.
taken. So that's
That's it. Well, good thing I haven't invested in it yet.
exactly.
I'm just dipping my toe in, and I am going to finish reading the book. I started reading it on vacation, and then my vacation was not long enough. It was
Yeah.
like 3 weeks.
Well, it's like if something, what is it? The banks are backed by is it the SEC or something like that?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
or FDIC.
It's like the federal, the FDIC. Yeah.
So that if something does happen to your money, it's insured, so you're not fucked. But like, I don't know if that's the case with these
They don't have that.
cryptocurrencies. That seems a little.
Yeah, they don't have
dodgy.
that. The thing that's supposed to insure it is the blockchain because it's like impenetrable.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's not.
Apparently not. No, but so the money, we're leading into money, which goes into my journey. And I think this happens in a lot of relationships. And I'm always intrigued about the money dynamic
Yeah.
in a marriage or a long-term partnership because it gets weird.
It's weird, especially as a woman. You like want to not rely on your husband, and you don't want to be like I want to have my own money, but yet I don't have as much money as my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I feel like a little bit like guilty about having Mike pay for stuff for me, or I feel like I wish I had more money, but also he's 15 years ahead of me in his career. So it's
Yes.
like, of course he's more financially stable. So like, even if our gender roles were reversed, that person would probably still be paying for more stuff.
Yes.
But I do feel sometimes I'm like, oh no, I hope I'm not like being a bad feminist by like letting my boyfriend, like we had sex and then he like bought me dinner. I'm like, oh no, is it the 40s? You know?
No, because I was always brought up of like have your own money, and I'm always been pretty confident. Like if I have to go single again, like I'm pretty good. For some reason, it's odd in the workforce. I end up having an office space situation. The times that the jobs where I don't give a shit, for some reason I get promoted
Yes.
up the wazoo because I just
Yeah.
go in. I don't get involved in politics. I don't care about getting promoted because I don't want responsibility. So then they're just like, she's so easy. So then they end up promoting.
Yeah.
And then I know how to wait tables and bartend. So I feel pretty comfortable that if shit hits the fan, I can always just go do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's feminism. You want to be able to like not be, according to this podcast, you don't want to be trapped in a relationship.
Yeah, because like growing up, I was always told like you always want to have your own sense of money, and I have to say that like that is not the position that I'm in right now. And it's good, it's nice, and Joe's always been like, I'm in a position that you don't have to work, and I'm always just like, I'm basically like a part-time worker.
Yeah.
I work a lot, but the money that I pull in is basically a part-time.
Yeah, but that's the nature of freelancing too, where it's like you're working a lot for like tiny money, and then like sometimes you get like a gigantic, you get like a big income. You're like, oh well, that was my whole year right there.
Absolutely.
You know?
So nowadays, like I kind of in the mindset of like I just let Joe pay for like when we go out to eat. I'm like, you're the one that wants to go out to eat most of the time.
Yeah.
I will chip in. I'm always like, when we're out in the city running spots, he does not want to take the train. And for me, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't mind taking the train. It's not an issue. I can look at a TikTok on the plane or the platform, or read a book, or just mindlessly scrolling. So I don't mind, and it saves so much money.
And it's relaxing. You're like, ooh, a little me time with a scary man leering at me.
Just a hornet in a car.
Yeah.
Just all these sleeping homeless people that you're like, I don't want them to wake up, because people are never amazing when they wake up.
No, and who is, you know? I'm not not my best.
So those are times where I'm like, well, then you pay for it.
Yeah.
Because like that's more important.
You're choosing to do it. Yeah.
And these aren't issues like, I don't think we have like financial stuff is a rift in our relationship too much, but it does make me feel bad.
You feel like bad because you're not paying with your own money. You're not like splitting.
I don't feel like source. I don't feel like I'm independent. And that really, I wish I'd like to contribute to the family more. And stuff that I do. And my therapist is like, you don't even have to do any of that. There was like, I'm like, I do all the taxes. I kind of do the paperwork.
Yeah.
Of the
marriage.
admin.
Yeah. The admin.
That's my love language. That's my mom's love language.
Taxes. Yeah.
Taxes. And we were talking about that earlier of like, where you're like, Mike pays for this, but it always ends up like I pay for all the groceries and the like, make sure like light bulbs in the house, toilet paper.
Yeah.
That the apartment is clean and tidy, like doing those are my things that I like. In my mind, I'm like, that's how I contribute financially to the relationship.
Well, you do. And I think like sometimes gets like a little upsetting where it's like if I do things that are traditional gender roles, even if I like to do it, like I really enjoy like a deep clean.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you wouldn't know from being in my apartment, but I've been running around trying to make $500 for 8 shows. But like
podcasting for free.
Yeah. Anyway, join our Patreon, by the way. Please support us. But like sometimes it bothers me though. Like Mike has his chores that he does in the place, and he'll clean a little bit. But also, I don't even really want him to clean because I like the way I clean. I want to do it. But then
guys cleaning, I mean,
I know it's so funny.
He'll be like,
I cleaned. I'm like, what? Where?
Yeah. How? Like you had a tweet that went really viral about guys think that they clean by just having the skillet soak in the sink for about 20 hours. And they don't do it. They think soaking is cleaning.
Yes.
And then in the meantime, you're just like cleaning around their big pile of ninja or like
ninja artifacts that they've collected.
Like a blade in the sink that's like cleaning a gun.
Yeah.
That you're like, can you just clean this as soon as I'm maneuvering around this thing right now. But yeah.
And Mike is neat. He's very neat. So I don't want to down him. But my point is that like when I do traditional gender roles, I feel guilty that I'm being like a bad woman. That I'm like, oh, I should have enough money that I could just hire somebody to clean. Then I could be working at my high-powered job, which I don't have. You know, so it makes me feel like a failure in my career that I'm doing those.
Absolutely. No, those are the same feelings that I have. There's an inadequacy that I get. And also because we're in the same profession, it's Joe works hard and deserves all the money that he gets.
Yes, and he's very wonderful. And watches film. Which I'm in.
Yes,
engaged. Mike and I got engaged.
Yes, and you should watch it. It's on YouTube. We'll link it in the Patreon. It's free. Because I sided on your side. your character side.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a conversation between a guy and a girl, and you'll see it's very like a Rorschach test of if
who's
you're a
right
man
or
a woman. Yeah, because I saw the comments, like a lot of people commenting were like, "This is my ex-wife." It's like, okay, sir.
Yeah, where it was. I thought it was. Joe did a really good job with the natural conversation of it. I just love that all of a sudden this podcast is just really promoting Joe.
Yeah. Well, we need money.
We need money, but
Joe needs money.
But I do, and it's just hard, and I know this is annoying for a lot of guys to hear this, but I do really think it's actually harder to make money as a female comic.
Yeah, I think it's harder for women to make money in any professional context, because it's like, especially if it's a male-dominated industry, it's like you just don't have the leg up that men do. You don't have the connections, and I think this is the thing that's hard too. It's like when you are in a profession that you love and you end up like basically deciding what your own value is by what you're making.
Yeah.
By like the values placed on you by like how much money you're making. So it's like, it's so hard as a comedian, but I think this goes across like any other field, whether it's like if you're a raise, or like if you're like a journalist, you're getting like the good assignments, getting paid like, you know, more and less money. It's really, really hard to not like feel your own self-worth as what you're getting paid.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it gets frustrating because I see that I'm like, this example is I've always had to do all of every, like the podcast stuff of like the tech and all that stuff. And he's always been in a position that he can pay for it. So that means he frees up about 16 hours of his week that he doesn't have to deal with the bullshit of that. And so that allows him to do other artistic endeavors. And he has the money to pay people to edit and shoot all this stuff. And I never have those. So it just ends up like exponentially. When somebody gets into a position of like making quite a bit of money, it helps them exponentially more in their career because they can pay for that stuff, and it frees up more time so they can go do more sets and do other things.
Yeah, and rest and have that creative rest, which is like, that's so important to being able to create more and more.
Yeah.
So hard to create if you're just like run down all the time because you're like, I'm making my own videos because I can't pay a guy now because I thought I could, but now like my money's gone.
Yeah. And so that was like what was so great about pandemic and unemployment is that I finally felt like I could live the life that our male counterparts were living. And I was like, and that was nice, but now I'm going, it's like money, it's as times go by, I'm like, my income isn't coming in as much as it was.
Yeah.
And then what also ends up happening in the power dynamic with money in our relationship is like, now Joe has a lifestyle that he wants to go on trips a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're in a position in your career that you can.
Yeah.
And I'm still fighting for my life in a weird way.
Yeah.
And so when I go away for long, it puts a stall on like creating.
Yeah.
Shit that it's like, it brings in a weird dynamic. And also I'll never turn down a vacation.
No, I know. It's like we're kind of in that dynamic where I don't have any money, but I'm like begging Mike to take me. I'm like, what about Rome for my birthday? Is that going to happen? But I feel the same way because especially after the pandemic, I was like, oh, it would be so cool too. I've been working so hard for so long. And I made a little bit of money, but I put it all into savings. And now I'm like, I have to keep up my income above a certain level that I could go on a vacation. And it's just not even getting there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I want to go to Rome. I think it would be so cool. But I just don't have the extra money to do it. So it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm just like going to keep
just treading
water for like the rest of the year.
That you don't get to have like a cool vacation like that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I know it sounds like I'm like complaining. My life is great, but it was just like that money dynamic actually really affects me mentally.
Well, I think it probably affects a lot of different couples out there, and I'd be interested to hear from some people who maybe have the reverse dynamic if the guy is the one, because I do know male comedians who their wives are the one,
feminism.
who they're like now hardcore feminists, because like the wives are the ones who's like making a lot of money, while meanwhile the guy is kind of doing this artistic pursuit that is less, more of like a long game.
Yeah.
So
well, like, there are times where I try to realize like because Joe's put me in that position to make sure that I take advantage of it. I remember reading that with Anna Tendler, John Mulaney's ex-wife now.
Oh, yeah. Anna Marie Tendler, yeah.
And it was refreshing for her to say that, because it's kind of like when you see a lot of artists that come from really rich families kind of negate that family background, and you're like, it makes you feel inadequate. You're like, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough, but you realize they just had a shit ton more free time because they have the financial privilege to do that. Where she said because of John Mulaney's income, it allowed her to pursue her artistic endeavors, and that she did benefit, not in the way from the divorce, not in the way that she wanted to, but it put her finally all of her skill set that she had, and she was doing her portraits of her life by herself in this home. It ended up like hitting a nerve with people artistically, that it propelled her and put her in a nice financial position. But it was nice. It was refreshing for her to acknowledge that she came from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
And
That's
I want to
so
be there.
interesting. Yeah. I know, me too. Well, check out Mike's got a big special coming out.
Yeah.
So,
and he taped that, right?
He's taping it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So by the time this comes out, it will be taped. So, but yeah, I mean, like, but I feel like Mike is kind of in the same boat too, where it's like he's been very successful as a comedian, but he hasn't had like major success that he is like, you know, a millionaire and has money like pouring in.
Yeah.
Pouring
like some
in.
of our peers that are like Beacon. Every time I'm walking to Stand Up New York, I'm seeing one of our peers at selling out Beacon Theater, and you're like, this is so hilarious.
Yeah, this is like people doing like huge stuff where they're making tons and tons of money. So I think like he's kind of maybe like a little bit further along, but I think he's still dealing with this like the financial insecurity of like, well, I don't know, like I know what this year is, I don't know what next year is going to look like, and I think like what I'm just trying to do for myself, even though I'm not making a lot of money right now, I am just kind of trying to go into the mindset of abundance, and just using that to trick myself.
Yes.
You know, like we were saying earlier, where I'm like, ooh, so luxurious, a bath. Who, me taking a bath with tea, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then celebrating in a small way that, you know, because I feel sometimes I do get in like such a scarcity mindset where I'm like, you know, especially with like shows and stuff where, you know, certain people are making more money because they have a bigger draw or whatever, you know, in any business context, like there are always people that are doing better than you. And those are the people you want that. So you're comparing yourself to that. But I'm trying to compare myself instead to like, at least I have a toilet. Yes. The ultimate luxuries are the things that we take the most for granted. It's like we have air,
running water, drinking water.
Oh my God, it's so luxurious to be able to take a sip.
Absolutely. Or like, you know, live in a city where there's great bakeries, or because I just went to one yesterday where you're like, oh, you know, that's something that's cool. That's great.
So cool. Yeah. You just have a little scone, you know, or you can take the subway home hammered without killing a family of 5, you know?
Yes. Oh yeah. The ability to do that. So it is funny. You do live in that scarcity mindset, but you should pull yourself out of it and be like, no, I can afford, there are luxuries.
There are luxuries everywhere. It's a journey.
That's a lady
I feel
journey.
like this episode was such a journey that we went on together. There were ups and downs and a lot of downs, but when we got back up on top.
Yeah, we ended on top. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Lady Journey. We love you guys.
Yeah, and speaking of finances, join our Patreon.
Yes. Please join our Patreon.
We've changed the tiers a little bit, right?
We've got bonus episodes in the $5. The $10 is getting you a bunch of extra goodies and special behind the scenes content. The $20, you get a free ticket to the AMA when we come into town. We're getting you tickets to our shows. You'll be our special guest. We've got lots of other fun goodies and stuff that we added in there. So please consider subscribing. And if you just want to do, you know, throwing us $1 a month just because you love us and, you know, you think that would be fun, please do still.
Absolutely.
We would love it.
Or the long game too. Like if you can't do a Patreon, if it's not in your finances this month, we get it. Subscribe to our YouTube, because if we get to it's 1,000 subscribe. We're at 140, so we got a way to go.
Yeah.
But
we're closer. No, we're like 160 now.
Are we at 160?
Yeah, we're getting up there.
And then we've got the hours watched. We're in a good mindset.
Yes.
But if you subscribe and just like be part of our YouTube channel and watch our content, we can start monetizing that way, and that's like a free way for us to monetize.
Yes.
In the long term, not right away.
Yeah. Thank you for everything you've done for us.
And
we love you.
There's mugs out there floating around if you join our $20.
Yes. Oh yes, that was another benefit too. We got mugs. Lady Journey.
Lady Journey.